All right, so the goal here, if you're watching this video, is to take a mesh from inside Mass Effect, in this case Mass Effect Andromeda, and you would just want to move the parts around a little bit, reshape it, and then put it right back into the game. So it's pretty easy. You're just going to need the Frosty editor, which is out there on GitHub. There's links in the Discord if you don't already have it, and then you also have Blender. That's pretty much all you really need. I'm using Blender 5.1, but really probably any recent Blender is fine. So here's the Frosty editor right here. And here's all the game files. So if we're going to be messing with the meshes, we're going to go into game, characters, yes, right here. And then here's where all your characters are. You got Asari, you have a human, and then you also have Krogan and whatnot. So, if you want to modify stuff in the future, it's all kind of hiding in the character folder here. But we're going to click on human, and then we have human male and human female. In this case, I'm going to focus on the female shepherd. There we go. I'm going to give myself some space here. And now, just a heads up here, the casual clothing um, and the armors, it's not sorted in the best way. Like when I think of the casual clothing, I think of like the stuff that Ryder wears when she's on like her ship and whatnot, and like at the Nexus, those like the tank top and whatnot. But there's also other random clothes in here that NPCs would wear, and all you're really gonna need to look at are the skin mesh assets. If you double click on it, it'll let you know which file you're dealing with, right? This is an outfit that NPCs wear. So yeah, with the casual stuff, you kind of have to click around to see what you really want. But anyways, let's look at some of the armors. So you have armor A here. Let's sort it. Skin mesh assets. Uh, right. I'm pretty sure this is the Guardian armor. All right. So you kind of have to click around because some of the names aren't exactly clear. Here's the actual casual clothing for the Pathfinder. Yeah, this is the casual clothing for the Pathfinder and so on. But anyways, let's look at some in armor. So if you look here, human female, it says UND. I'm guessing that's like an abbreviation for Under Armor. So if I click on this, oh, that's one armor. I don't think Shepard or Ryder wears that. I'm pretty sure that's an NPC. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like Sloan and some other NPCs wear this armor. That's not the actual armor that Ryder wears. Maybe in here, Pathfinder A. Oh no, this is another armor suit. Let me see if I can find it. No, more armor. Well, it's important that you find the base model. So let me kind of click around a little bit here. I'm sorry, I'm kind of having a brain fart. I used to know exactly where it was. Armor, Commando Core, Deep Space Helios, Ket, N7. Pretty sure that's the naked one right there. Some scarf stuff. No. Where are you? Pathfinder Angara armor. Man, I really thought it was this one. I feel like it was this one for sure. But no, this is like a special armor that some of the NPCs wear. I think. Pretty sure. Hell, it could be the armor. But no, I don't think it is. Where did it go? Let's look in the casual. Medical armor. Um, let's look at some of these. No. Pretty sure that's just like a different version. Yeah, that's Cora's armor, Settler armor, Slum. Jeez, where is it? This is so annoying. You know what? Let me take another path here. So here's my folder where I've kind of dropped everything. I have the Asari armor, casual wear, Pathfinder suits. So this is what it's called. Let me just, no, don't do that. I'm going to click on rename here, Control C, and I'm going to search for it here. Where is this stupid thing? Gosh, I'm blind. I'm blind. There you go. Well, anyways, that's the base space armor that Ryder wears. I'm sure I just flew right past it. I'm so blind. Anyways, that's my fault. But anyway, so I'm gonna export this and I'm gonna, just kind of do the whole thing fresh here for you guys. So I'm gonna make a new folder here and just call it guide stuff. There we go. Anyways, let's go ahead and extract this. I'm going to right click and I'm going to press export. And I'm going to go to Mass Effect Andromeda. Did I put it in here? Jesus Christ, where did I just make the folder? Pathfinder armor and suits. Jesus. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to put it in here. Guide stuff. There we go. And when you export it, you want to make sure the human female skeleton, in this case, because I'm using the human female armor here, is selected from this. If not, you can just click on these and look for the skeleton. FBX to 2012 centimeters, all that's fine. Make sure you have those two highlighted and boom. All right, now let's actually go into Blender real quick. So I'm going to boot up a fresh Blender. Delete all this little junk in here. You don't need any of that. And let's drop it in. Now, when it comes to dropping stuff in, this is an FBX. If I'm not mistaken, I think Blender comes with an extension to process these FBXs naturally, but you might have to go online and find like a Blender, you know, extension to nab things. But anyways, just drop it in. Everything there is going to be fine. Import FBX. And if you notice here, nothing happened, right? And if I push down mouse wheel, I can kind of scroll around, but nothing's really there. Well, let me give you a fun hint here. If you press the home key on your keyboard, I'm going to press the home key now. There we go. There it is. So it imported in the model and it's very tiny, but that's fine. As long as you don't mess with the scaling, when we put it back into the game or the game files, it'll know because it's expecting this size, right? So it's fine. But it's very tiny. But anyways, yeah, press the home key to zoom in here. And if I push the mouse wheel around, I can kind of go around here. Then I can use the arrow keys as I push the mouse wheel down to kind of scroll. Or I'm holding the shift key. If you hold the shift key and then press mouse wheel down, you can kind of guide around like this, right? So when it comes to navigating in Blender, you're mostly pressing down the mouse wheel and also pressing shift and then the mouse wheel to kind of zoom around. It's weird, but you get used to it. All right. Now in this case, it brought it in, and there's buttons everywhere. Don't worry, you won't use most of them. But it calls it reference. This is the bones right here. This is the bones, and this is I believe this is like the bone groupings. And then this is the actual mesh. These little triangles, these little golden triangles represent the actual mesh, and these are like little vertex groups and modifiers and stuff like that, which we won't need to mess with, right? But anyways, yeah. So here's the female shepherd. Now let's get a piece of armor on her. Let's go back to the Frosty editor. All right. Now let's look for a random armor. I'm just going to grab the N7 armor. I'll grab the torso. Export. Guide stuff. M7 torso. Looks good. And I'll grab the legs too. Why not? I don't think I'm going to be messing with the arms, but if you plan on making the arms bigger or smaller, you'll want to grab those too. All right. So I exported the arms, or not the arms, the legs and the torso. Now let's drop them in. Let's see what happens here. So notice here, when I dropped it in, this one's called reference. If you're going to drop multiple stuff in, you're going to want to keep track of them. So I'm going to call this UND for Under Armor. And I'm also going to change this little reference group 2 to UND because these guys their names will get tripped up and they'll start having a bunch of numbers. It's annoying. Let's do the torso first. So I'm going to click and drag it in, import, boom. And the torso's there. And I'm going to call this new stuff. As you can see, there's a lot more little bits and pieces to this new armor. I'm going to call it, I'll just call it torso. Torso. There we go. And then now for the other piece, the legs, right here. Import. There we go. Now, it's kind of hard to see because the textures aren't exactly loading in, but that's fine. Legs. And do this right here too. Legs. I'm just double clicking there to change all the names. As you can see, if I click on this, yeah. And now notice here, the meshes, there's LOD0, LOD1, LOD2. Now, I'm not a master of the 3D arts, but from my understanding, these LODs are designed to make it easier for your video card to process the armor files because each one loads in at a different distance, depending on how far away you are from the character who might be wearing this armor. So basically, if you're far away, it loads in one that's low detail, and then as you get closer, it loads in the version of the meshes that are higher detail. That way, it kind of saves your RAM, your video space by not loading super detailed armor from far away. So, anyways, it's kind of annoying, but when you start moving things around, you're going to have to highlight all of the LODs when you start pulling on things. But, anyways, let's back up here. Let's get to the actual meat and potatoes here. So, I'm going to click on these armors right here. Actually, I don't need to do that. I'm going to click on the under armors. I'm going to press Shift click to highlight them all. And then I'm going to press Shift H. Shift H. I pressed Shift H. And what that does is H normally hides whatever you're highlighting. If you press H, H is hide. But if you press Shift H, it hides everything else, which can be handy if you're dealing with a bunch of little meshes like this, right? So anyways, I pressed Shift H while highlighting all this, and now I have just the Under Armour. So we're going to mess with her body, and then we're going to refit the armor for it. So let's actually click on her body here. I'm going to click on the Under Armours. I'm going to Shift click to get them all, and then you can either press Edit Mode up here, or you can press Tab. Doop, Tab. All right. So now we see all the little dots that make up the mesh's body. And you notice if you zoom in too close here, it'll kind of like zoom into her body a bit. So it's kind of annoying, but you can get close, but not too close, right? So let's actually do some work here. So let's say we want to make the waist thinner, right? So here's what you're going to do. First, you're going to go up here, you're going to click on this thing. This is proportional editing. What this does, it allows you to pull a vertex, pull a vertice, and proportionally, the other ones nearby will get dragged along with it. Now, if I press G here, G means grab. So if I press G and I start moving it, it's moving the whole thing. It's because my radius is too big. If you look up here at the top where it says proportional size, it says 1 meter. That's way too big because remember, this model is very, very tiny. Remember, when I imported it, it was very small. So when I press G, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel upwards. And if you notice, the proportional size of the top is changing. It's getting smaller. I'm rolling the mouse wheel upwards, and there it is. There's my radius. All right, so now we can actually start moving things. Now check this out. If I press G and I start moving things, her mesh moves. But you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, how am I going to do this perfectly symmetrically without goofing up the model? All right, I will show you. So first, we're going to click on one side of her waist. Now, which side you click on is you just want to make sure you're consistent here, right? So I'm going to click. How about right here in the middle? Boop. All right, that's a good spot right there in the middle of the waist. And I'm going to go over to the other side. And now if I'm over here, if you want to just kind of guess and check it, you can. Geez. Now, normally you wouldn't want to do this so manually. Normally what you'd want to do is you would want to do a function called symmetrize, which allows you to use this little function right here, enable mesh symmetry. So if I click on this, it's now going to symmetrize in the x-axis. But the problem with this is, actually, that ain't bad, to be honest. But yeah, so check it out. So if I pull over here, it's mostly working. But as you can see on the right side over there, it looks like there are some vertices that aren't mathematically lined up perfectly the way they should be. So it's kind of annoying, but we're not going to use symmetrize. We're just going to do it as best we can by hand. So I'm going to click on the middle of the waist over here, and I'm going to do my best to get a middle of the waist slot about this height, right about here. I'm going to shift click like that. All right, that's pretty good. Good enough for government work, right? And now what you're going to do is if you press G, you can kind of move it like that, but that ain't looking pretty, right? That's not looking right. So instead what you're going to do is you're going to go up here. You can click on these chains. This is called the transform pivot point. And we want the median because basically I clicked on one side and I clicked on the other side, and I want there to be a median point that they can gravitate towards, which is good. So I'm going to click on median point, and now I'm going to press S. S, there we go. S refers to scale. So now if I do this, it's not working that well, is it? I don't know. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay. Just had to grab a right spot, right? So now if I press the S key, I can scale it, and now it really does a lot of the work for me. And if you increase your radius here, woo, right, you can really do some damage there. But I'm going to press S. I'm going to squeeze it in a bit like that. And I'll just left click when I find a position I like. Left click. Huzzah. All right, so now her waist has been cinched in a bit. And if you want to, you can do the front as well. I'm going to click on her front belly button there and just want to make sure I'm lined up in the back with something. That wasn't really centered that well. Left click, left shift, left click again. And then I'm going to press scale, S. Oh, 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 that was weird. I was clicking S, but nothing was happening. Let me try that again. That was weird. Here we go. It's a better spot right there. Shift click. Okay, that's woo. All right, there we go. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So you can also scale in the front belly if you want to a little bit. There we go. All right. Nice. All right. Now let's practice a little bit more here. I will show you another way to scale. Let's say you want to expand the hips symmetrically. If you want to, you can do the median point again. That works fine. But the issue is that what if you want to make her butt like push out further? You could use the scale feature. I'll kind of give you a gist here. If I click on this side and I click on this side and I click on scale, but you see it pushes out her front pelvis too, right? We don't want that. We don't want that. So here's what we're going to do instead. I'm going to click on, oh, I'm not going to click on the front. Instead, I'm going to do shift right click. Check this out. Shift right click. It creates the 3D cursor. This thing's kind of been sitting at the bottom of the blender the whole time, but I'm going to shift click the cursor here, and then I'm going to click on each side like this. Shift, or I'll just left click first. Left click, that's a good spot, and then I'll shift left click over here as symmetrically as I can guess it. Maybe around right. Is this it? Is this it? Maybe it's in this cluster right there. Okay, that's fine. All right. So I click those two spots, and now this time I'm going to switch my scaling. I'm going to, instead of doing to a, hey, instead of doing to a median point, I'm going to scale it based on the 3D cursor. Pivot around the 3D cursor. I'm going to click on that. Now check this out. I'm going to press scale again, but now I can either scale it towards the cursor. Woo! I can either scale it towards the cursor or away from the cursor. So this is very handy in this case. And you can maximize. Woo! You can change the radius there. There we go. Let's increase the radius a bit, something like that. There we go. Nice. And now, what about her? If you want to make her hips wider, you can go back to the median point. I'll just click on each side of her thighs, the middle of her thigh there, and I'll press S. Ooh. Yeah, sometimes these LODs don't like to go together very well. There we go. It's a little bit better. Yeah, and also the armor itself is, the mesh is kind of rough, right? It's not really a smooth mesh because it's got like little armor chunks all over it, right? But you can also increase the size of the waist there, the hips, and then we can do the same thing to her legs. Let's grab in the middle of the legs there, something like that. I'm kind of airballing it right now. There we go. Kind of give her some wider legs. And if you also want her inner thighs to kind of look larger as well, I can click on the inside of the thighs. All right, I'm just kind of airballing it. But now when I press S, I'm going to go inwards like this, and it kind of pulls them a bit towards each other. Ooh, not too much. There we go. There we go. Now her legs are a bit wider. It looks like let's make this a bit more of a curvature, right? Get a bit more of a curve going on here. Let's make that a bit smaller radius. There we go. Yeah, all right. That ain't bad. That's the gist. And you can kind of do the same thing up here with the breastplate. If you right click, I'm going to change the cursor right here. I'm going to switch back to 3D cursor. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to click on each side, something like that. And I'm going to press S. Now notice here, if you have the radius set too wide, a lot of the torso goes along for the ride. So you may want to just, be a bit more careful with it. something like that. There you go. And then you can also change the cursor a bit lower and click on the top. Yeah, try not to mess with the neck area. You don't want the neck to get pulled because then you're going to see her neck, and that would make things awkward. Okay, that ain't bad. All right, that's the gist. And then you can also kind of click in the middle of 3D Spacer. I'm going to shift right click up here. Let's move it more like right here. Shift right click. There we go. And now I'm going to expand the breastplate downwards. Shift left clicking there. And then S. Not bad. And also you can even expand it outwards a little bit. I'm going to click on each side there. I'm going to be as symmetrical as I can. And then I'm going to switch to median point and press S. Huh. Yeah, it's mostly moving. I kind of don't like how a lot of the dots here aren't moving that much. So you kind of you probably want to be a bit careful here. There we go. Let's just move that a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and say this is our final product here. We're ready to go. We're good to go. Even though I could probably still do some more edits, but that's fine. This is the gist, right? So anyways, our Under Armour is looking good. So now at this point, if I wanted to, I can kind of export the Under Armour. However, I don't want it named Under Armour. I want it named Armature. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to call it Armature. It moves around when you do that. Armature. Armature essentially refers to like the model and the bones specifically, right? And usually with these 3D models, the armature is like the kind of the name they're looking for when they're looking for the files. So I changed it back to armature. I'm going to go back to object mode, and then I'm going to left click and then shift click and gather everything up, right? So now I'm going to press, you should probably save it if you haven't already at this point. I'm going to go ahead and click save as. Where am I? Oh, wrong folder. Armor, guide stuff, guide video. Oop. Oh, geez. There we go. Guide video, save as. Now I'm going to click File and Export. You want to export it as an FBX. Now, you see how I'm in guide stuff right now? I don't want the files to crisscross, so I'm going to create a new folder. I'm just going to call it Exports. There we go. Now we have an export folder. I'm going to go into there in a moment, not yet. But first off, you want to turn off animation. You don't want that. You don't need that carrying over. In the armature section, turn off add leaf bones. You don't want any more bones than they're supposed to be. Geometry, you can click on tangent space, and that's pretty much it. Pretty much all you need. So now check this out. This is the underbody, right? So if you see it, it's right here, but I don't want to override it. I just want to make a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click once. Don't double click. Just click once. And watch what happens down here. You see, it copies the name for me, which is good. And then I'm going to go into the exports folder and save it. I'm going to export it there. All right, now let's try it out in Frosty. So now I'm back in Frosty. You want to have it pulled up like this. You're going to press import. You want to go to the folder, Pathfinder Armor and Suits, guide stuff, exports, and you're going to double click on this bad boy. Make sure the human female skeleton is selected and import. Huzzah! We now have a changed model. And at this point, you would save it, save your project, and then you could launch at some point to check it out in game. But that's the model right there. Now, what do you do for the rest of this? What about the armor? Well, you do the same process. I'm going to go ahead and rename this armature underscore under. This is the under armor here. I'm going to click on that. Now let's do the torso. I'm going to click on the torso. If you want to, you can just click on all these little eyeballs. This makes them visible again. All right. Now, I don't need the bones. I don't need to see these bones. They're just going to be in my way. So I'm clicking off the little armature eyeballs. I'm going to highlight everything, and I'm going to press Tab. Yes, so as you can see here, there's a bit of clipping. Now, if you notice, I can't really see what's in the skin and what isn't, right? I don't know what's under there. So if you want to, you can press Tab and just go back and forth. Tab, 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 tab. You can kind of see where the armor's hiding, right? So I'm going to move my mouse here. And then I'm going to go back to edit mode. I'm going to click into the void there. And it looks like I got a hold of something. And then I'm going to press G. And I can expand my radius there. G. There we go. And I can move it outside. Okay, it looks like there's a little bit of armor in here. I'll reduce the radius there. There we go. This part is really more, it's more like sculpting. So I'm clicking on the armor, and then I'm pressing G, and I'm moving it around. There we go. A little bit of armor in there still. There we go. Obviously, there's some armor in here, right? Okay. Yeah, let's click in there. And if you want to, when you press G, you can use the arrows. I'm using the arrows on my keyboard to kind of scooch it out, and I'll press Enter. I was kind of eyeballing that, right? We couldn't really see what was happening, but there you go. All right, let's get that out of there. And the reason why you might want to use your arrow keys is because, especially in the middle of the model, it's very easy to accidentally pull a little bit to the left or right and kind of make it look weird. So you got to be careful. But go figure. All right, looks like I've almost got it here. I'll press G, then I'll use my down arrows. There we go. Okay, that ain't bad. Not bad. The front, I didn't really mess with the front of her pelvis, so that's fine already. Okay, that's looking good. That's looking good down there. Now let's go over to the front here. I'll press Tab, kind of get an X-ray vision of the situation here. All right, so I'm gonna sweep across like this. I'm gonna try to be as symmetrical as I can. I know I highlighted a bunch of vertices there, so I'm gonna press G, and I'm just gonna scooch everything forward. Now, once I start to see it, then that's when I left click, right? I don't want to go too much further out, and then I can just pull the rest carefully, right? You just want to pull it out just far enough to see it, and then you can get a little bit more meticulous. I'm just pressing G and using my mouse wheel to change the radius. That's all I'm doing in this section. I'm just pressing G, doing a little hand sculpting. Pressing G, scooching the armor. Needs a little bit more there. Probably, yes. Okay, let's get this up a little bit. Oh, this might be some clipping right there. Okay, maybe, maybe not. All right. There we go. And I'll press Tab to look a little bit. Okay, I think it works. I think it's looking good. All right, and if you're happy with that shape, you can go ahead and set it. But I'm going to go ahead and scooch this in a little bit. So I'm going to click on each side. I'm going to press G. I'm going to shrink the radius a little bit, and then I'm going to push in like that. I'm just using the left key on my my keyboard there, or yeah, the left arrow. Oh, too far. I'm going to press Control Z. Overdid it. Maybe just a few movements. Okay, there we go. So now it's not quite as randomly bulky there on the underside. It's got a bit more of a smooth transition. All right, let's say that's good, right? As you're doing it, you can modify it as to your heart's content. Let's go ahead and settle with this, all right? So this is the torso. You kind of have to remember that because I'm about to change the name to armature. Armature. And now check this out. One thing I forgot to mention is that sometimes these LODs, just for an example, like sometimes if you import a bunch of meshes into this, it'll say LOD 0.001. And the next one will say LOD 1.002, right? It'll have a bunch of these because if you import in a lot of meshes, it'll have to rename them to keep them separate, right? If that happens, you have to look. You want to make sure it always ends with LOD 1 or LOD 2. But if you have these extra numbers, you've got to go in there and you have to fix them. If you forget to fix them, if you don't notice it and you import it in, when that happened to me, it imported it in with the textures looked all crazy. So if you forget, the game will tell you. And actually, looking at this file here, oh dear, did I? Oh my gosh, did I? Wait, that doesn't look right. Did I import in the wrong file? Did I? Huh. Oh, that's weird. How can that happen? I've never seen that happen. We're dealing with something brand new here, guys. We're doing it live. Why does her right leg look funny? It looks fine for me in here. Oh, did it? Oh no. Did the? Uh, oh no, something's wrong with the LODs. I guess. Very weird. It looks like LOD1 got pulled fine, but the other ones didn't. That is so strange, guys. I'll be honest with you. This has never really happened to me. Well, uh, I guess you can try to pull them together, guys. But I guess sometimes let me try to edit them. So now I have them all highlighted except Under Armour 1, and I'll. Well, I was already in object mode. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. I can't believe that's happening like as I'm recording this. I've edited like a bunch of armors that I've never had that happen. Usually the LODs all move together and they're all happy. Very strange. Yeah, you might have to do a bit of manual movement here. It looks like it's working now. I might maybe I hit a wrong button, guys. Very strange. Okay. Yeah. I'm really not sure what happened there. Okay, let's. Well, if that happens, you have to do the Under Armour again. Well, that's Blender for you. But anyways, let's got sidetracked there. Let's finish off the torso. Okay, so the torso. Let's might as well check the torso armors. Uh, okay, well, it looks like the torso pulled fine. Yeah, all the meshes look like they're pretty well lined up, as you can see there. One of them is a little bit different, but that's not a big deal. All right, let's go ahead and export this torso. So I'm going to highlight everything, including the armature, file, export. And now I'm still in my exports folder, and I need to change the name. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go into I'm going to click one time. Remember, just click once to change the name. Boop. The name is changed. Then I'm going to go back into my exports here and export it. All the settings over here should still be the same if you didn't close your Blender. So I'm going to export it. Right now, let's check out this N7 armor. Nope. Yep. Okay. There's the N7 armor. Import torso skeleton. Yes. And huzzah! It's changed. All right. And just for fun here, let's go back and redo this. So I'm going to go back here, double click armature torso. Armature torso. All right. Let's go back and fix this Under Armour. I got to change the name back to armature. Super annoying. All right, let's try this on Under Armour again. File, export. Well, I'm already in the exports folder and I want it to overwrite it. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on it right now and overwrite the Under Armour. Let's try this again. Yeah, that was that's super weird. And it looks like the top of the body did fine. I don't know what happened, guys. I don't know why that leg got all crazy. Let's re-import it and boop. Okay. That was weird. But there you go, guys. Now it's working. All right. And then at this point, you would just click on File, Save As. Well, right now it's in my Blender modding folder, but it'll probably guide you to a Frosty editor folder. But it's not a big deal. Anyways, you just call it whatever you want, of course, and save your project. And then it says it up here. And at this point, you would just click Launch. And once you're in game, now notice here, I have the Under Armour set up and I have the N7 armor set up. But as far as I know, I can't really see them on top of each other right now. Maybe there's a way. Honestly, I'm kind of new to Frosty, but there might be a way to kind of overlay them and see them together. But for the most part, you'll have to go into the game and see how they really fit together. And also, I didn't even do the legs, but guys, it's the same process with the legs. You make the legs all visible, you highlight them all, and you try to make sure that everything gets pulled the way it's supposed to. Right? You just pull things around a little bit, have some fun with it. We got to pull it on the inside now. Notice the inside here. It's just kind of a tight spot here. So at this point, I would probably click on both of them and use the scaling measure. Nope. Make sure it's okay. It's set on median. You press S, not G, like I was just doing. Nope, too far. There we go. You press S and you scale them inward towards each other. A little bit easier because, if you try to use G in here, it's super annoying because you pull both sides, right? Very annoying. So you might want to use S. Or if you want to, nope. If you want to use G and just shrink in the radius a lot, you can kind of do some very highly targeted movements there without messing with the other thigh, right? That's the idea. There you go. That's the gist, guys. And then of course you export it the same way, change the legs to armature, export it, change single click the previous name to just copy it, and then it's same process. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and call it there, guys. That's the general gist. And then you save it, you import it and up in here, and then you launch the game, and everything should be changed.